From shark attacks to jellyfish surprises to divers being pulled down and more. Join us as we reveal to you 9 of the scariest sea monster encounters. Number 9. Lance Karlson vs. Octopus. When it comes to octopi and squids, you honestly don't hear too much about them attacking humans. Sure, you hear stories about the legendary Kraken tearing up ships and attacking sailors, but in reality, they rarely, if ever, go after people. Unless your name is Lance Karlson, apparently. This happened in Australia, and the event occurred in March of this year. Lance was with his daughter at a popular beach spot when he saw something come out of the water. He soon realized that it was an octopus jumping out of the water, something you definitely don't see every day, and then proceeded to film it. And as he did, the octopus lunged at him on the beach. I took that footage, it lashed out at me and I was quite surprised. Then it swam off into deeper water, Karlson told CNN Friday. Now, that might not sound like an attack, but trust us, we're not done, and neither was the octopus. While swimming nearby soon after, Karlson was examining a pile of crab shells when he felt a whipping sensation across his left arm, followed by a second strike across his neck and upper back. Within a minute, a perfect imprint of an octopus tentacle appeared on Karlson's neck and back. Karlson had to scramble out of the water while being blinded by ink and was taken to his hotel room where, we kid you not, Coca-Cola was used to try and treat his wounds. The pain went away, and more than anything since then, it's been more the physical hit that was painful. The imprint on my neck in those photos is more from the physical hit, and I guess it makes complete sense when you look at the video I took 20 minutes earlier of that lashing out, he said. To reiterate, octopi aren't known for attacking humans, but this is a perfect example of why you don't tempt fate, even if you're getting a good video recorded at the time. Number 8. The USS Indianapolis. You're going to be hearing about a lot of shark attacks on this list, but this is easily one of the most terrifying encounters with them ever. Because it wasn't about one shark attacking, it was about waves of them attacking. It was near the end of World War II in 1945, and the United States was getting ready to make and drop the atomic bombs on 2 targets in Japan. But the uranium needed to be transported to a certain site close to Japan. The USS Indianapolis was assigned that job. They completed the job and shipped out again in the Philippine Sea. They never made it to their next target though, as they were found by a Japanese submarine who sank the ship. Hundreds survived the attack by the sub, but the problem was for them that no one knew where they were due to this being a secret mission even after the delivery of the uranium. Add to that, they were very far from land, and this spot in the sea was full of predators. As we alluded to before, it was full of sharks, and those sharks were circling them and were very hungry. Many of the crew were in a panic state, to the point that they were attracting the sharks to them, and thus they were slowly picked off, one by one. These sharks were noted to be relentless, and this went on for 4 days without food, water, and being baked by the sun. The fact that any of those crewmen were able to survive was a miracle. Eventually, a routine plane sweep of the area led to the survivors being found. Rescue operations went late into the night, but those who made it were brought back home. This remains one of the deadliest shark attacks in the history of the world due to the number of deaths by the sharks and the aggressive nature of the sharks as a whole. It's true that this kind of encounter is rare for various reasons, but it shows just how deadly sharks can be when the right circumstances line up. Number 7. Diver vs. Atlantic Goliath Groper. The Atlantic Goliath groper is a species of fish that are found in usually tropical areas of water that are close to the surface, and they prefer to live in areas like coral reefs, artificial reefs, and pretty much anywhere else they can find a good hiding spot to use to get prey. Their name is accurate as well, since they can grow to be around 8 feet in length. And given their nature as predators, that means people shouldn't mess with them when they see them. Yet one diver did, and was taught a hard lesson, one he'll never forget for sure. Diver Arif Sabir was with his wife off the coast of Florida and was doing some spearfishing. Sure enough, he caught a fish with his spear, which his wife caught on camera. However, while he was celebrating the catch, an Atlantic Goliath groper suddenly appeared and approached the diver, even swimming by him and circling around so that it could look him square in the face. After a standoff, Sabir decided that he had won, so he made his way to the surface, his wife filming the whole event. As he was going to the surface though, the groper followed him, and apparently you could hear Sabir laughing as it did. thinking it was just curious about the fish and wasn't going to do anything. But he was very wrong. The Atlantic Goliath groper lunged out, grabbed the fin of the diver and ripped it right off of his foot. Then the groper rushed forward and ate both the fish and the spear that it was on. Once it did that though, it spun around and swam away, leaving the divers alone. Later on, Sabir would find his spear in a sandbank about a quarter of a mile away. As many have noted, Sabir was lucky that he didn't lose a foot in this encounter. Atlantic Goliath gropers aren't just known for their length, but their powerful jaws, which help them close down on prey, which Sabir almost was in this instance. Plus, there have been many cases of people being stalked or even attacked by gropers, such as this one, because they perceive them as a threat. Let this be a lesson. Don't underestimate a fish of good size when you're on its turf. It never ends well for you. Number 6. Tyler McQuillen versus Great White Shark. Shark attacks aren't always fatal, and they don't happen as often as you might expect. However, they do happen. And as Tyler McQuillen can attest to, they can get pretty dangerous really fast. He was off the coast of California near Santa Barbara with his friends and went spearfishing. As he was doing so, he felt an impact that made him lose a flipper. At first, he just thought his friends had come around to prank him, but as he looked around, he found himself facing a great white shark. What's more, the foot that had lost its flipper was actually injured, making things even worse. The impact that hurt his foot also led to him losing his spear gun, so he had to swim down to get it back while dodging the shark, and then had to use the spear gun to defend himself and ensure that the shark didn't try and kill him. Mind you, all of this was happening while he was injured and against something that moved a lot faster than him in the water. He had to jab it several times with the end of the spear in order to get the shark to go away. All told, McQuillen fared better than most, including only getting 2 broken toes out of the endeavor. No doubt what saved him was the spear gun, because great white sharks have one of the most powerful bite strengths in the whole world and would have ripped right through his wetsuit if given the chance. Thankfully, that didn't happen in this instance, and McQuillen should be very grateful for that. And in fact, he was. What would your worst sea creature attack be? Have you ever had to face a shark? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for some more wild animal encounter stories. Number 5. Boy versus box jellyfish. Jellyfish are very much a type of creature we know as humans to be wary of, because their stings can range from painful to toxic to fatal depending on the species you encounter. In Australia, we have one of the deadliest sea monsters around, the box jellyfish. And sadly, as 2021 reminded us, any encounter with them can end fatal. In March, a 17-year-old boy was swimming in the waters off the coast when he was attacked by a box jellyfish. And despite the fact that he was treated and got into a hospital in time, he died a week later. Box jellyfish have traits that set them apart from other jellyfish, the National Oceanic Service said of the animal. Most notably, box jellyfish can swim at maximum speeds approaching 4 knots, whereas most species of jellyfish float wherever the current takes them with little control over the direction. And that means that an encounter with them can be well and truly accidental, but no matter how it happened, the results, as you can see, can be quite disastrous. Number 4. Sharks versus golf course. And now for something a bit different. Anyone who watches golf knows that sometimes animals go and cause a bit of havoc on the green. But one animal you wouldn't expect to encounter as you play would be a shark, let alone a whole set of them. But that's exactly what happened near Brisbane, Australia. You see, a storm had caused flooding near the golf course, and that naturally raised the water levels up to where the sharks, bull sharks in this case, were able to swim from the waters they were in to the water hazards of the golf course itself. The irony of which is that when the waters went down to their regular levels, the sharks were still there. There were a set of 6 bull sharks going and roaming the waters of that golf course. You know, this really gives a new meaning to the phrase water hazard. Number 3. Girl versus backwater shark. A very telltale mistake when it comes to people swimming in dangerous waters is that they think they're safe because they know the area or that they've swam there before. And for one girl, she was swimming in waters right off the dock when she was attacked. No, she wasn't attacked on the dock, but she was attacked very close to it. A mere 12 feet from safety, in fact. Wilbur Drummond was next door to this young girl when it happened. He warned her that something might come out and attack, but she didn't listen. Her sister did a great job tending to her. She wrapped the wound in several towels, which became a pressure bandage. The woman was bitten just below the knee, but as to what kind of shark it was, no one knows. This goes to show, though, that any place can have a dangerous predator, and you don't want to take it lightly. Number 2. Bethany Hamilton versus Tiger Shark. This is the story of Bethany Hamilton, who had a terrible shark encounter that altered her life forever. In 2003, her friend, and her friend's family were out swimming and surfing in Hawaii when a tiger shark came out of nowhere and took Bethany's left arm almost clean off. Her friends were able to get her to shore, and her friend's father was able to patch her up enough to get her to the hospital. Because of the nature of the injury, she lost almost 60% of her blood by the time she got to the hospital, but somehow she lived. Despite the loss of her arm and the very understandable mental trauma that could have befallen her, Bethany wouldn't allow that to happen to her. She was a professional surfer before the incident, and she refused to let what that shark did to her be the end of her story. She went back to surfing, and she learned to use her body in a way that allowed her to keep going and even surf professionally again. That kind of resilience is remarkable and shows that even while it's terrifying, you can live on even after one of these gruesome attacks. Number 1. Night divers versus a wall of Barracuda. This final story comes from a Reddit user who talked about how when he was younger, his father and him went on a night dive. Fairly standard stuff, right? Except as they were gazing at an octopus, his father tapped him on the shoulder and he noted that from floor to ceiling was a group of barracudas passing over. It was a wall of barracuda from floor to ceiling. We were totally surrounded. They hunt at night, and a school of them were passing over our group. Fortunately, they have extremely poor eyesight and were just checking us out. By his own admission, he wasn't in danger, but that doesn't mean it couldn't have taken a turn for the worse had the situation shifted. With so many of those barracuda, anything could have happened. Thankfully, it didn't. Thanks for watching, everyone. What's your scariest animal encounter? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.